Hey guys, it's me again. Thanks for stopping by. I had another thought, and this one's kind of interesting. And this one I would view, I don't 100% know what to call it, but again, as always, I like sharing these kind of experiences to see if there's anything for anyone out there that maybe they can take something and either take it and make it better or get back to me and maybe we can build something together. But the idea that I have right now is the idea of like an acceptable truth. And what I mean by that, and let me rephrase. It's hard to articulate because it does vary situation to situation. And so one of the things that the easiest way for me to explain it, I should say, is there was a situation that I was a part of. I had a friend of mine who I was trying to reach out to, and I hadn't heard from in a while. And um, the moment of not reaching that person led to this idea that she was unavailable, like either unavailable or didn't care. And so the longer that went on, I felt at the time, I felt that that person was avoiding me. And it obviously leads to some negative thoughts that you're just like, oh man, that really stinks. Or you begin to start to accept that, do they not want to talk? Is everything okay? Is something wrong? And what I thought was so funny was I finally was able to reach that person, and she lives a very busy life, very busy. And she was like, hey, I'm just so busy with the kids. And I put my phone down, I saw the notification that you were reaching out, and I meant to reach back out, and then I had other things to do that by the time I went back to the phone, the notification was gone, and I didn't think to call you back because I unfortunately forgot. And what was so funny with that example and that experience is literally my wife was in a funny sense, not to talk badly, but her first thought was like, oh sure, sure. you know and what was really funny about that is it was a choice on my part to accept that answer and to say, okay, yeah, no, that makes complete sense. I hope you're okay. I was just checking in about X, Y, and Z. And you know what? Things are good. But and again, if we remove my wife, even though that's what happened, but if I remove her from the situation, if I felt that that was a BS answer and it was like, hey, no, I don't agree with that. Like, no, you could have texted back. You could have called back. Like, if and pushed that responsibility to her, that leads to further and further negative thoughts that I think can lead to kind of like a form of projection to, like, again, that very first example where it's like, is something wrong, or are you okay? Why aren't we talking? When honestly it was an unknown outside variable that made her unaware of that reach out. And so the reason I wanted to make this particular video was more along the lines of this idea that there are going to be multiple moments where you were told the answer to something that you may or may not have been expecting. But it's ultimately up to you to choose if that is the acceptable truth. Like, you could go on further to think about, and you could very easily come up with, almost like Sherlock Holmes, you could almost come up with all these ideas, be like, well, if it was this, and and it like chatters, and that doesn't help. It's almost like its own form of being a worrywart that it doesn't help you, it doesn't help anyone who's connected to you, or in this case, the relationship. Because the next time you do end up seeing that person, it might be on a negative note. Hey, why the heck haven't you been answering my, or whatever. And that idea of having the acceptable truth and just saying, okay, like, thank you for letting me know, and then being able to move on from it. I think that that's so powerful. And there's other situations and other examples that maybe you can see the groundwork of what I'm laying down, that sometimes you are told, and to be honest, sometimes it is BS. But is it worth the negative energy on your part to try and pretend to figure out this magical problem that may or may not be real? And in my opinion, it's kind of a waste of time. That even if you were right and that person does come back in your life at whatever time it ends up being, it's not really the best thing to start off on the wrong foot and have such a strong negative, headspace when you haven't seen this person in however many amount of time it's been. And so, you know, again, I just found myself really thinking on this one, because not just because of that situation, but also because there was just so many moments where I'm told a thing and the other, which was the answer, didn't seem believable. And it's a very slippery slope. Another example, and then I'll end on this note, is there was a time where one of my girls was really excited to see a family member they hadn't seen in a very long time. And so I told them that they would be at this event, and it was going to be this super duper fun time, and everybody was going to get to not only see this person that they hadn't seen. It was one of my cousins, and they hadn't been here in a long time. And what happened was I had that conversation with my daughter, but 2 days earlier my cousin had hurt his foot really bad. We were actually playing basketball. And I don't know if you can tell with this angle, but I am not built for basketball. It was a horrible day, but it was fun. But I suck at basketball. And so we were doing this, from my perspective, it was a workout. And I looked over and my cousin's foot has this wicked bad blood blister. We played quite a few games. And it was one of those things where I was like, all right, hey man, good to see you. See you. We're doing this other event, right? And it's like, oh yeah, cool. And then you get kind of sucked up in the rest of life, that when my daughter's like, oh hey, are they coming? It's like, yeah, they should be there. That should be fine. And then they say they can't make it. And you have on her side of it, she's like, oh, so bummed out that they can't be there. And that negative thought comes into play, that you can find how slippery it gets. It's like, well, is it because the kids are there? Is it because, like, did we do something wrong? And is something other happening? And it's fascinating how many people latch onto that instead of just thinking, and in the moment, even I'm not innocent of this. In the moment, that's where I latched to. And I needed to almost be reminded and my cousin had to remind me. He was like, no, dude, my foot's still healing. And I was like, oh, right. Like, it was that. And it sounds so silly to phrase it in this way, but there are going to be those hiccup moments that we forget. Even though we were told the answer, it just didn't seem like an acceptable truth. Like, the other things seemed more plausible. And that's where it gets kind of unfortunate, because it can lead very easily to negative, headspaces, that you're just like, oh no, certainly it's that because so-and-so doesn't like so-and-so, and keeping up with all that. And instead it's as simple as like, oh no, excuse me. No, it's not that. It's a completely understandable and acceptable truth that, it's still healing. I can't wait for the next event. We'll link up then. And we did. And so, yeah, I just think it's big picture. Excuse me. I think big picture, when we're told those answers and when you feel that thought kind of sneaking in the back of your mind of just like, is this BS or are you lying to me? It's totally understandable, but it is at the end of the day a choice to say, hey, thank you for telling me, or it's unfortunate you couldn't make it, we'll see you next time, kind of thing. And I think that that's better for you, it's better for the relationship, and it's better for those around you, that we're all gonna find those potential moments where something looks so good, looks like it fits, but it might not be the actual answer. And so it never hurts to take a moment, or when in doubt, if you're able to, confirm with that person. And then when they give you the answer, really put some thought into saying, I have this feeling what you're telling me might not be true, but I'm going to choose to believe it for the benefit of our relationship. And it might be hard sometimes, but I personally think with some of the examples I provided with, but also, um, you know, even if it's slightly different situations, I think it's better for you and better for the relationship. But as always, if you do think of anything else, or if you wanted to go more into this or any particular stories, let me know. I hope something here helps somebody out there. And again, I'm open to other discussions. You guys have a good one. Take care.